It's a comedy show. It's really a comedy show. And the best was we were in his garage. So Dylan starts the golf cart and he steps on the gas. We missed his going through his living room wall by like that much. And she was standing outside. Don't ask.
Well, these are sort of the things that go on before we are on the air, but that's okay because anybody watching live, they caught us with the back end of that one. So they probably have no idea what you're talking about, but that's okay. Most people don't anyway. Thanks for tuning in here to the Horsepower PSN live broadcast of our Belmont Stakes preview. So we've got two races we are going to preview on Saturday at Belmont Park. And, of course, we've got not only the Belmont Stakes, but also our bonus race is going to be the Woody Stevens. And we've got Chad to thank for this, Chad. I think out of these 12 horses, like you can, I think there's about 8 or 9 that have a chance to win. So I think this is a great wagering race. So that should be a lot of fun, trying to break that one down. How's it going, gentlemen?
I love a horse in this Woody Stevens, to tell you the truth, so.
With good odds, I'm assuming?
I don't think there'll be bad odds, to be honest.
You're right. I mean, if you look at it, the morning line favorites are the 1 and the 7, and that's a 9-2 shot and a 7-2 shot. And the 1 is returning from a Saudi trip, and the 7 hasn't raced since November.
Yeah,
that's
true.
That's what you want to see. Definitely some warts in those favorites who aren't even short numbers. So yeah, there's some good money that could be made out of that race, especially with 12 horses in the field. Hopefully nobody will scratch. Of course, that's was a little part of what we talked about last week at Churchill. Matter of fact, all 3 of those horses scratched. The ones that were entries on 5 days notice, something like that.
Yeah. Correct. All 3. Right.
Why do they even, someone like me and others are out there, we're not the experts, so we look at something like that. Why even should they be allowed to enter a race if you know they're pretty much going to scratch anyway? Like, what's the reasoning for it?
The problem is, Greg, nowadays entries are made so far out in advance. The horses were entered in a main track only situation. So. Okay. They were only going to run in that allowance race if it rained. But it rained, so they're going to run in the easier spot rather than running the graded stake race on Saturday. And that's what happened. But really, the racing office probably should have carded that race the day after. But that's what they did. So that's where you end up with a lot of scratches in a race. But look, it ended up being a really exciting race to the wire anyway. I thought both horses ran well, and look, the winner is a nice horse in Highland Falls, and he's gonna go out of town now, since the Stephen Foster will be run by the other horse instead.
Yeah, Highland Falls.
Brad Cox horse.
Yep.
We gave out that exacta. Chad had the exacta. We had the exacta too, I think. So.
But yeah, Chad, actually, the way it went last week is Chad hit the exacta in the 8th race, which was, what was that one by, Chad? 7. Oh, that's right. That was one by those are the Cilia and Zagara.
So I do like the fact that filly's running like 4 different tracks now, and the announcers have announced her 4 different names.
I know,
I
right?
gotta talk to Belmont and find out what exactly is the pronunciation of her name.
So it's funny because that paid
Travis does a good job, and he went with Skilla with a K. I don't know. We're gonna find out.
That paid off 16.
That's the trainer or owner.
That one paid off $16.86 for the exacta, and the other exacta paid off $20. And yet the 8th race, you had the 2 heavy favorites, but unfortunately the 10th race, Highland Falls ended up 4-5 by the time we got to post time, and even though the 9 in that race, which hit the exacta, Cogliostro, and what did Cogliostro? That wasn't a bad number, right? That was a pretty decently sized.
6 or 7 to 1, I think.
Yeah, I think it was pretty decent. Anyway, that was a $20 exacta. Bottom line, 2 more wins last week, and we're on a nice roll. Chad's on a nice roll. Everybody's on a roll. as we get ready for Belmont, which is actually at Saratoga. So
not only that, but Jonathan's on an onion roll, so we might as well just keep going.
And we want to take a shout out to Ed Burke, who is the first to message us live. Love your guys' content. Great weekend of racing. That's right, because Friday we've got some really big races. There's several Grade 1 races as well. Have you checked out any of those races yet, guys?
I'm waiting as we get closer because weather is certainly a possible, maybe a problem. But Saratoga, so you should know it could rain on one side of the street and not the other. But they are calling for showers Thursday, Friday, possibly on Saturday. So let's see what happens.
Just like rain on Friday in the 7-horse field with 5 Chad Browns. I just want to see if it come off the turf. How many the Chad Browns run? How many the Chad Browns scratch?
They'll cancel the race. There won't be a race.
Chad Brown was strong. He did that last year. They ran the
longest shot wins. The longest shot won.
Derby for an extra week.
The longest shot won.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, we had we had one question from a viewer a couple weeks ago. I never got to. I just wanted to. I don't think we answered this one. You might have answered it if I forwarded it to you guys. But Vernon France wanted to know what's the name of the Skelly horse. Do you remember that a few weeks ago?
That is Skelly.
Skelly is the name of the horse.
Skelly is Skelly. He actually ran last weekend. He ran second.
Skelly ran second at 2-5 or something.
Okay. Well, there you go. All said and done.
The winner of that race was the closer of the Mets. And it's funny because it was the 7th race. I was worried if it was the 9th race. I thought that for sure that the Mets would have blown it. But it was the 7th. It was the 7th race, and he was able to get the win.
There you go.
Nesta Malero commented, "Great show." So, kind of agree with Nestor. And
how much are you paying these guys to put these comments?
Where's Rockface? Is Rockface doing us live? Well, it's probably
it must be 2 o'clock in the morning over there right now.
I was going to say it's probably 3 in the morning for poor Rockface.
Rock probably didn't just get the we put out the promo probably maybe it was about 10 o'clock in the evening his time. I guess it was a little too late for us to exact when we were going to go live. But of course,
I think you should email him Chad's phone number, and have him call Chad.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the first people that are calling me randomly at 2:30 in the morning.
We've got up to 443 subscribers here on the Horsepower PSN channel. Again, our goal is obviously 1,000. That's our first goal. So once we reach 1,000, we keep saying at that point, all of our programming will become immediately posted at YouTube. Normally we post on YouTube on late on Friday nights, early Saturday mornings. Everything, though, goes immediately over to our Patreon page. You've got a link there. So in the meantime, if you don't want to miss anything that we post on Patreon, make sure to use the link. And it's only $5 a month, and you can cancel at any time.
To subscribe, it costs nothing. So just hit subscribe. It doesn't cost you.
That's right. That's it. All right, so let's get started with race number 8, the Woody Stevens. This is a $500,000 race for 3-year-olds. Should go off about 320. And I mentioned this is a wide open field. You got 12 in all. And one thing I noticed before we go through the field, Chad, is that it looks like almost half of this field wants the lead. So when you see that, how do you handicap that, or how do you use that to your advantage when you handicap?
Well, one of 2 ways. One, either everybody thinks that and everybody takes back, and one horse just kind of makes a clear lead. Or 2, you got to find the fastest of the fast, and then kind of you can eliminate the ones that you feel like they need the lead. Now, some horses have been forwardly placed in the past, but it doesn't mean that they necessarily need the lead. It's just how the race kind of unfolds. The thing to me that's really interesting, obviously, and we'll talk about it, but the 2 Bob Baffert horses, Bob Baffert loves speed, and they both show speed. So,
yeah, but Prince of Monaco could sit off, Chad. I don't think he needs the lead. I'm just saying.
Imagination's cutting back. He might not be fast enough to make it.
Yeah.
But they've shown speed. They love to show speed. But you're right. No, look, there's a race loaded for speed, which is why I like a horse at a big price that we'll get to here in a minute.
Gregory Kasbar wants to know, do you adjust sheet numbers based on trouble? Enjoy the shows.
you can't quantify trouble. You could only adjust it in your own mind. If a horse runs a bad number and he had trouble, well, then you have an excuse why he
But
ran.
in the sheets, when you're reading the sheets, they'll put a is there a T or there's some
Yes,
different
they
letters?
they inform you if there was trouble in the race. That's correct.
Yeah, and you can get your hands on the symbols for the sheets. How is that
When
free?
you order the sheets, you get a symbol sheet. Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's go down the road. By
Are
the
there
way,
more letters in the alphabet or symbols in the magazine sheets?
What happened?
Is there more letters in the alphabet or symbols in the magazine sheets?
Letters in the alphabet.
by the way, the horse trainers in this race include Asmussen, Baffert, Brown, Cox, O'Neill, and Pletcher. So this is the Woody Stevens. We'll start with the one. Book him Dano. You know, I normally I have like, all right, these are the horses I'm pretty sure I'm going to go with, and then I'll cross them out depending on what you guys say. I decided in this race, I'm just going to listen to what you guys say because it's really hard to pick a winner out of this one. There's so many interesting ways you can go. We'll start with the one. Book him Dano. 6 out of 6 in the money lifetime with 4 wins. On the sheets, as far as those numbers, John, you like the fact that it's 9 and 8 this year. Again, as I mentioned, though, this is the first race since coming back from Saudi, so we don't know how that horse is going to react. I read Ortiz Jr. though was on board, and 9-2 is not exactly a bad number if you like Bookham Dano and think he's the best horse in the field, but still, he is 9-2, and this is a field loaded with possibilities.
I love this horse. I absolutely love this horse. First of all, he's got plenty of time. He has 3 months off since the last race. Look who beat him last time out. Forever Young. Forever Young was probably the best horse in the Derby, to be honest.
Easy fella.
Okay, well, just my opinion, fella. But if you look at the sheet, he's got a perfect line. 13, 10, 10 minus. The 13 was a mile, throw that out. This year, 9-8, time off coming in. You know, he's never run worse than second. He's not going to be 9-2. I think he'll be longer or around that price. And I absolutely love this horse.
Really? Why do you think it'd be longer?
Just because there's so many horses to bet. It's a full field.
Yeah, but the one thing that we've seen now is the IRAD factor is very much a real thing. And anytime you think you're going to get a higher price, you're not. With IRAD's going to knock that number down.
Yeah, but it's a Saturday. It's Belmont Stakes Day.
I understand.
There's plenty of dumb money out there, I think. You know, and you're right. The dumb money probably will go to IRAD because he's a household name. But I love this horse. I just think I really do. I think he's sitting on a big effort. They pointed for this race. It's just the right move.
Look, here's the thing. One, I love the fact that they're running this race 7/8 because I think he's truly a one-turn horse. I don't really think he wants to go 2 turns. I thought he got beat by Forever Young because the race was a mile. If the race was 7 furlongs, he wins the race. I think that's evident. There's 2 problems with this horse, okay? The first problem is the race they were pointing to was the Pate Mile. So it's a little bit concerning that they skipped it, but maybe for the better. He was going to be short horse. You see the work pattern, though. He's got 1 workout the end of April, 1 workout in the end of May, and then a 2nd workout in May. Now, look, that last workout obviously screams he's ready. 58-1 out of the gate for a guy like Derek Ryan, who doesn't work his horse fast. In fact, he gets on some of his horses himself in the morning time. It's a little bit disconcerting that you just have 3 works off that long trip and everything else. I remember when I ran Mind Your Biscuits in the Met Mile. Well, really, the first time we came back from the international trip from Dubai, and I ran him in the now it's whatever it's called now, the John Nehru or the Run Happy or whatever. But you're sitting there and you think you have a lot of time when you come back from Dubai and you go to a farm for a few weeks and you rest and recover and you come back and you're playing with him and you know he's a top horse, he's already a proven class horse. And you go, I got time, and then all of a sudden you look at the calendar and you go, oh shit, I don't have that much time. And go, I got to get serious. And I think that's what that May 30th work was just to make sure that he's got him fit and tight. But man, 3 workouts in 3 months is not exactly the recipe you want when you got a lot of horses in this race that are some serious horses. If this was a smaller field, if this was a field that wasn't as talented, I agree with you, Jonathan. I think he's a lock. But in a field of this depth, you're gonna get 9-2, 5-1, 4-1, whatever. But man, it's tough. I do like the fact that he didn't need the lead last time. He was able to sit off of Bernardo from Jose D'Angelo's barn and make that move, when he made it.
He
Because
can work out a great trip from inside. I just think he's going to make it first. I just really like the line.
Oh, he's a must use. I'm going to try and beat him, but he's a must use.
Bluegrass Dan, the absolute correct pronunciation of is
Skilla.
Kijera, named for a safari lodge in Botswana that Mr. Rigney favors for a getaway. So it's Keejera.
Of course.
And
talking about Skilla. How did we end up with
what?
No, we're on Scylla. We're on the wrong horse.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another. Well, that's a.
I was talking about Skilla.
Well, there are. Well, that horse has also had a different pronunciation than you had, Chad. Yes. I don't remember what the announcer said, but it was different than what you said.
He called it Skilla. I call it Scylla. I think the Y is silent. He called it Skilla, like it's
That's what I thought. I thought it was Skilla personally, but don't ask me about English though.
And
it's my third language.
And Sean says, "Love the shows. Let's go shoot the nickel." You guys must know what that means.
That's a horse that Chad's running on opening day. Thursday.
Oh, all right. Well, good luck. Next up, Barksdale. Here's an interesting long shot. Well, there are several good, interesting long shots in this one. Gaffleone goes on for a second time, and first time he did get the win. He's coming off an 8, John. That's pretty nice, especially considering the last race was an 11. So after a bad start last year as far as the sheet numbers were concerned, this year, so far, so good on the dirt fast tracks. He's almost gone wire to wire in both of them. He was a heavy favorite in both races. Here, of course, he's a big long shot. It's a different field and so forth. But you are getting 20-1.
Listen, I never argue with 20-1 shots, but that being said, the horse has no foundation as a 2-year-old. As a 2-year-old, the fastest number he ran was a 20. What I think happened to this horse is the Lasix pop. He got Lasix for his first start this year. It was on a synthetic track, and then he had Lasix for the 11 and the 8. I think personally it's a Lasix pop. I don't like him. I think he's going to react. He will have no Lasix on Saturday. And, the last 2 races, last one was at Aqueduct and the one before that was at Keeneland, they're just 2 big races out of nowhere. And I don't particularly like them. But, again, I would never talk anyone off a 20-1 shot.
Chad, when I look at this horse, Chad, first I want to step in is that I do see, he starts off with a 20 and he wins the race wire to wire, breaks his maiden right away. That's fine. 20 is okay. Not every horse is going to get off to a great start. But those next 2 races at Churchill were just absolute disasters. So I don't know what happened there, but I'm just saying, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe he didn't like the track.
This is the thing, Greg, that you have to pay attention to, that I find amazing. All right, I was at Keeneland when he won that race 2 back. So Will Walden's a former he's part of my coaching tree, I guess, right? He used to work underneath me. Now he's training out on his own. So it's always exciting to see that tree spread out. He's doing great. Ran second in the grade 1 the other day in California. He's just sitting there trying to win a stake race. He won the stake race non-graded the other day in Aqueduct as well. Look, this horse, the 3 starts prior to the Keeneland race, he goes off at 41-1, 59-1, 24-1. He's 20-1 morning line at Keeneland, and all weekend long, this was Sunday, I believe, all weekend long, every horse went wire to wire, wire to wire, wire to wire. And I go, I guess he's got a little bit of speed, but he's 20-1, and he goes off at 8-5. I go, they must have known something, and he won that day like a good thing. I said,
they knew.
I said, it's a speed favoring track. He got loose on the lead, whatever. He came to Aqueduct in his next start, which was a salty enough field. Okay, it was an ale event, but it was a solid field, and he ran them off their feet. He went 21-3, 44-2. That's California speed. You don't see those fractions at Aqueduct in the wintertime. So this horse has gotten good at the right time. Will seems to be pressing all the right buttons of the last couple of months. And he's going to go. I think he's got the speed to go. I just think, the last 2 times he was able to dictate terms. He's able to make the lead and go out in his own way. And now he's going to get pressed. He's going to get pressure from the inside from Irad. Irad's smart. He's not going to let him get loose. He'll give him a little niggle to make him have to work to get in front of him. and then he's going to get speed coming over from the outside to him. And I think the trip is the thing that gets him beat. But take no doubt about it, he's a very, very serious horse.
The 3 is Imagination. This is one of Bob Baffert's 2 horses in the field. And I guess the question is, was the 15, his last race, was that because of the weather at the Preakness? Because his other sheet numbers range from 8 to 11, those 5 in between races. He started off with a 13 in his first. So that's the thing you got to question. But anyway, this is Bob Baffert. You have to respect him. Imagination's 10-1, John. What do you think about the horse?
Well, the last race he was in was the Preakness, and he ran for half a mile and he spit it out. Maybe it was a wet track, who knows? But he didn't run well, and it is Baffert. But his previous races, certainly good enough. I don't believe he'll be 10-1. He's never gone off anywhere near that price. Even in the Preakness, he was 4-1. So, I don't believe you'll see 10-1, but I don't particularly like him. You're going to need faster than a 10. He could run it. He has an 8 4 races back. And if it rains, and there's a chance of rain, that doesn't help him. So,
all right, 3 things on this horse. 1, and anybody else's stats, these are good stats. For Bob Baffert, these are terrible stats. Route to sprint, he's only 20%. Now, for anybody else, that's the Hall of Fame. But for Baffert, who wins at 35%, 20% is actually not that good. So a little bit of a concern on the route to sprint angle. I hate the fact that this horse ran in the Preakness, shipped back to California, breezed 3/4 at 11-2, gets back on a plane, ships back to the East Coast to New York as a young 3-year-old. The first time he shipped was from California to Pimlico. Every one of his numbers before 8-11, every race was in California. So I don't like making that trip twice in 3 weeks. I think that's a lot to ask. Bob Baffert's a Hall of Fame trainer, but that's a lot to ask of any kind of horse. And at the end of the day, this horse hasn't shown that heart and that courage to want to win when he's in a dogfight. And this race looks like he can come down to the wire. So I'm going to bet against this horse. He can be a part of it, minor awards. But if it's a dogfight to the wire, I don't want this horse on top. I'm not using all of my imagination on that one.
Someone named Jon Hardoon says, spotty work, tab on him. Is that another inside deal? What does that mean?
I think he's talking about Book of Nano, but we got to find out.
Oh, okay.
Maybe he'll write back again.
All right. Next up, Valentine Candy, a 6-1 shot. This is the Asmussen horse who does have a win at Saratoga. Last year, his best was a 12. This year, John, in his 2 on a dirt track, both off tracks, by the way. So again, there is a good chance of rain. He ran a 10 and a 9, both wins.
He's okay. The problem with him is I don't think he's long enough. He could certainly run a 9 or a 10, and that could get you in. But he's listed at 6-1 on the morning line. If you look, he always goes off short. The favorite. He's been the favorite in 4 of his last 5 races. I mean, he's another horse that has a shot. Listen, there are not many horses in this race you're going to say don't have a shot. I mean, it's that kind of race. And I just don't think at 6-1 you're getting any bargains here.
Here's the only question about Valentine Candy. First of all, when he ran first time out at Saratoga, he literally broke the gate. You cannot break it better from a starting gate than he did. You couldn't have a worse workout than he had in the Timonium Maryland sale when he RNA'd, and you couldn't get a better start from the starting gate than he had first time out. He's the first horse to ever win 4 stake races in one meeting in Oaklawn Park. He loves to win races. So you talk about imagination, who doesn't like to win? Valentine Candy loves to win. But those races are at 6 furlongs. The one time he went 7 furlongs in the Hopeful, he didn't really have much of an excuse that he ran flat. He might have bounced off that first race. It was back relatively quick, 6 weeks for a 2-year-old first-time starter. But to me, that's my concern is he's fast. There's speed in this race. He wants to go on or near the lead. Barksdale's going to go. Some of the other ones are going to go. Can he see out the 7 furlongs? And Ricardo Santana's sitting there off his ride from Skelly last week. He's going to have all the pressure on him with Eric Asmussen and Keith Asmussen on the sidelines. All eyes are on Ricardo Santana right now to try and keep his job. He's going to be all out on this horse, but look, he's going to feel a lot of pressure. I don't know if this horse wants to go see the 7 furlongs.
The 5 is another intriguing long shot. Frost Free, who's a 1-for-1 win. Jose Ortiz is on board. That was the last race. Matter of fact, over the last 4 races.
I read Ortiz.
Jose Ortiz. For Frost Free. So the last 4 races for Frost Free, he's done a pretty good job of going wire to wire. He almost did it 4 times anyway. This is one of those horses we talked about that wants to lead. What I did notice is out of the 4 off-track races that he's been in, he's improved each time. 21, 19, 11, and 9. So if it is an off-track, I think this is a horse to keep an eye on. He ran a 9 in his last race, which was actually, and by the way, this is going to be his 3rd race since April 27th. So it's quite a lot of racing. Of course, you can see his last race was on May 18th.
Yeah, this is another one. I mean, he's 15-1, but this is another one. You got to question the 7 furlongs. You got to question he's coming off of a 9 last time out. You're getting, well, Ortiz rode him last time, I guess. Yeah. So who knows? I mean, he's another horse. I'm not crazy about him. I think you have better options.
So Irad was the one that raced him last time, Chad?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is Jose's first time with him. Okay.
Like the Wayans brothers, they're very close to each other, and they'll share information. They don't keep things secret from each other. Look, the thing is with Frost Free, and John, you've done a lot of time, not just working for the sheets, but analyzing the sheets, and sometimes talking to trainers about races to run and time in between starts. With sprinters, I've always been told that when you run a big number like this, or a couple big numbers, you need a little bit more time in between your starts. Or is there concern that this horse might bounce off the big race last time out 3 weeks?
Both of his last 2 races, he's more likely to react and repeat or make a forward move.
Again, another fast horse, maybe one of the best horses to ever come out of the Texas April sale, 2-year-old and training sale, is Frost Free. But again, a little bit of a concern. Sprinter coming back quickly, and he's already been beaten pretty convincingly by Nash, by Valentine's Candy 3 times, and by Nash once as well. So for me, I just don't think he's as good as those, despite how good the last race was.
Let's see. Joe Hardoon came back with On Dano.
Book of Dano.
Okay.
Welcome, Dano.
Oh, so he's on Dano, I guess.
No, the spotty work tab is on Book of Dano.
All right.
Okay. And Sleeping at the Wheel, Greg. I guess he wants.
We'll talk about that horse later.
Jeez. Sleeping at the Wheel?
Sleeping at the Wheel, Greg. Yeah.
That's the name of a horse. Sleeping at the Wheel,
Greg. He's named for you. Yeah.
All right, next up, reasoned analysis. Chad Brown trained horse, 15-1 shot. Coming off at 13. First 3 races were 19s, so this is an obvious bounce situation. Plus, he was just a 13 anyway.
Yeah, I mean, he shocked me last time when he ran a 13 and won the Bayshore. I didn't give him much of a shot. He paid $30 that day, and I don't give him much of a shot in this race.
As our friendly Corso says, not so fast, my friend, Jonathan. Listen, this horse ran a really, really good race last time. The maiden race was a sneaky good race despite the slow sheet number. I don't think he wanted to make the lead. He just kind of inherited it that day. If they go as fast as it looks like on paper they're going to go, he's the biggest benefactor of that. He's going to be a big, big price despite being a Chad Brown horse, coming in under the radar with Eric Cancel. But Eric Cancel and Chad Brown have had quite the connection of late. In fact, they're 56% together over their last 16 starters. Pretty sick stats for Eric Cancel and Chad Brown. I think this horse is going to run a huge race. I think Chad Brown wants to show off. Look, he's a Mechanicsville, New York native, Saratoga. He wants the Saratoga Belmont Stakes to remember as the one that Chad Brown participated in. He's going to try and come guns a-blazing, pun intended, as we talked about the Met Mile. He's going to come guns a-blazing and want to have a huge weekend. I think reasoned analysis is a must-use, and I'm going to make him my top pick.
Whoa!
Now you can just, I mean, see, this makes every horse in this race viable. So, wow. All right, 15-1. Chad Brown's probably the only thing keeping a horse at 15-1.
That streak that Chad is on, he's in big trouble with this horse.
Well, let's hope it continues, because that'd be a big payout. All right, the 7, Prince of Monaco. This is the morning line favorite. Hasn't raced since the Breeders' Cup Juvie disappointment. And that was a long race. That was a mile and a 16th. So it's the only time that he's gone further than, 7 furlongs. His numbers have been okay. 4 races. 9 is his best. That was in that grade 3 race last August. But again, John hasn't run since November. Ran a 10 in that race. And he's the morning line favorite.
Listen, it's Baffert. Supposedly the horse has been training out of his mind, but to bet a horse like this at 7-2, you could certainly use him with someone you're keying, but I don't think you want to key off this horse as the favorite. Again, he has the 9 as a 2-year old and the 10 as a 2-year old, so he's eligible to run anything. If he won, would I be shocked? Absolutely not. But I would use him, but I wouldn't key off him, not at a short price in this spot.
You've seen Baffert do this of late, John. I know you watch a lot more California racing than I do, but the horses he likes to work them out of the gate off the layoff. He did it 100 times with that horse that won the Dubai World Cup a few years ago. They're bigger horses. He feels like to get them sharper, you got to work them out of the gate. You see the last 2 workouts and 3 of the last 4 workouts, 5 furlongs out of the gate, 6 furlongs out of the gate. He's trying to put more speed in his horse, but I just think that the way this race is going to run, it's going to be interesting to see where he works out a trip. Now, Flavian Pratt, who got a stay of execution from Judge Ito of the OJ system, well, I don't know who the guy was in California. He's not supposed to be riding this weekend. He sat there. He was suspended for 3 days, and he got a stay of execution to ride Prince of Monaco and Sierra Leone and some of these other horses. He's riding as well as anybody in the country right now. I don't want to go against Flavian Pratt, but he's going to have to work out some kind of a good trip here off the layoff. But certainly Baffert knows how to get him ready off the layoff.
So I know who John favors. Who do you favor, Chad, between the 7 and the 1?
The 7 and the 1 or the 7 and the 2?
7 and the 1. They're the 2 top morning line favorites.
I'll agree with John that I think Book Up Dano's a better horse than Prince of Monaco.
Okay.
I think the problem too is there's not a lot of opportunities for 3-year-olds in California this time of the year, and so you end up going here by default. I think Prince of Monaco would have been better served running in the Triple Bend last week against Dr. Venkman in a 4-horse field and getting weight. But 3-year-olds don't ever want to run against older horses if they don't have to. And Baffert was coming here anyway with National Treasure, so why bring 1 when you can bring 3? I think this wasn't necessarily a target for them. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think the race came up a little bit tougher than they maybe thought it was going to.
Are they owned by the same? The 3 and the 7?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's Superman.
All right, let's go to the 8.
But look, the thing you have to know about the ownership group on the 3 and the 7, and they owned Authentic, and they own so many horses over the last few years. They're trying to make stallions, and the way you make stallions is by running in Grade 1 races. You don't make stallions by winning an allowance race at Los Alamitos. So they go big game hunting, and it works a lot. They've had a lot of success. But you'll see them take more chances than a normal outfit, because if you win a Grade 1, if you win this race, you're a stallion somewhere, in some part of the world, maybe not even in America, but in some part of the world. If you win this race, this is a stallion-making race. If you win the Woody Stevens, the chances of you getting a stallion deal are 95%. I think you have to keep that in mind when you see that.
So is that basically because the more money you have and the more because obviously you got to have money to have opportunity. So the more money you put into it, that is going to go a long way compared to just someone, say you're like yourself. If you just have a certain amount of horses and you don't have the big barn, is that
it's
really?
It's a mentality. Look, they spend there was a good article that came out, I think, in the LA Times before the Preakness, maybe, with Imagination, talking about Tom Ryan kind of spearheaded this outfit with Donato Lani and a bunch of other people, and so they spend between $5 and $8 million buying baby horses, buying expensive colts to try and rank in the Derby or other these Grade 1s. And it worked out even last year. A horse named Doppelganger he was kind of a disappointment with Bob Baffert, came to the East Coast. He won the Carter, which was the last year was a Grade 1, and now he's a stallion in Florida. He wasn't one of their elite horses, but going big game hunting and trying to run in a Carter, which was a 6-horse field, race fell apart, horse picked up the pieces and got the job done at a big price. The only thing people look at is on the paper, hey, he's a Grade 1 winner, and next thing you know, he's a stallion. They're trying to make a stallion, and what I mean by that is when you're handicapping a race, especially a stake race, you have to look at intention. So some people, it might be a fillies race, and the intention might be that they just run third. They're happy to run third. They're enhancing their value. In this situation, they're taking chances, hoping for the fact that if this horse sneaks up and wins, either one, they don't care which one wins. They all own both of them. They don't care. If one of them wins, their value of the entire group's operation.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to know if they were owned by the same.
They are, and they were.
By the way, Mr. BRI capital YT said, "Mind Your Biscuits is my favorite. Love you, Chad."
Me too.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Flash in the past.
THANKYOU.
Thank you.
Next up, Vlahos, O'Neill's horse. 7 out of the gate. That's pretty awesome. And then, all of a sudden, O'Neill takes over. And he gets a predictable bounce, though, to a 14 in the Pat Day Mile. That's asking a lot. So what about, I mean, look, in this field with this many horses, this many possibilities, it's kind of tough to go for a horse with 2 starts, John.
Yeah, but
That's 6 to 1.
How many horses in this race have a 7?
No, yeah.
Listen, they bought him privately out of that race. Last time out, he ran super in the Pat Day Mile. He got beat in the Pat Day. He was going, and he got beat by who? He got beat by Seize the Gray, who won the Preakness.
And Nash, who's up next.
Yeah, but he got and Nash. Fine, he got beat by. I mean, he ran his eyeballs out. That being said, he would have to rebound and run somewhere near the 7 to win this race. Can he do it? Of course he could do it. He's cutting back in distance. He's drawn well outside. He has a shot to run the 7. But this, I guess I would want more than 6 to 1 on this horse.
But do we not sit there? Look, he was so brilliant running a 7, going 6.5, John. Now he's cutting back from the mile to the 7.
It's going to help him.
Is helping. And while I don't like shipping back to California and back to the East Coast with imagination, at least here you had an extra 2 weeks, so it's a 5-week gap instead of the 3-week gap for Vlahos. Again, lightly raced, not a lot of seasoning here, but you can't deny he's a brilliantly fast horse. And if Nash doesn't go, and he hasn't shown the same speed that he originally had as a 2-year-old, if Nash doesn't go from the outside, Vlahos is the one that's able to kind of dictate terms, and nobody's better out of the gate than
Edward Maldonado.
So you know where his intention is, and if he can somehow, this is what we talked about at the start of handicapping the race, Greg, when you said so many horses want the lead. There's every chance that there's a 5-horse duel. If one horse makes the lead, if you're telling me, hey, who's got a chance to clear him? It's Vlahos.
Yes.
Vlahos has a chance to clear him, and then that could just change the entire landscape of the race, because these horses that want to be in front, they're going to get their heart broken and they're not going to show up. Vlahos could be in front by 2 turning for home and get brave.
I agree. I'm using him as one of my exacta horses, but
sure.
I'm just saying, he's fine.
And did any particular reason why after just one race and a great race after that, the horse went to O'Neill?
They
bought him privately. He was purchased.
So Doug actually wanted to buy the horse prior to his first race. He watched him breeze, and they wanted to run the horse one time. So the horse ran the one time. And thankfully, actually, those are the ownership group that won the Godolphin Mile with the former claimer. And they had some money to play with in the kitty, and they were excited to buy a ready-made horse rather than go to a 2-year-old sale or something like that. And they were able to make a deal where they bought half of the horse because the ownership loved the horse so much they didn't want to sell the whole horse. They bought half of the horse after the first race, and the rest, so they say, is history.
All right, let's see if we can get
Why not us? Why not now?
Hey, big payday coming up, possibly. Nash is next.
Just so you know, Greg, I do have to stop for 1 second, just so you know, okay? If there's a big payday, make sure you go to Little Caesars Pizza right outside of the gate at Santa Anita and support Shane O'Neill.
You know what Doug says? Save a taco, eat a pizza. That's what he says. That's his advertisement on one of the radio shows I do.
See? So if anybody out there wins thanks to Doug O'Neill, that's where you go.
Go to Little Caesars.
Nash. Another 6 to 1 horse. This is Cox trained horse. And Nash, 7 out of 7 in the money. Couple of wins. No single digit sheets, though. His best is a couple of 11s. So he's very consistent, and really the numbers are pretty consistent too, ranging from mostly 11, 12, 13 last time out in that Pat Day race. John?
I just don't like the last race. I know he finished second, but the number isn't right. He should have run a 10 or a 9 or an 8.
Not for anything, and I don't know if there's a lot of correcting that goes on, but obviously, look, Seize the Great came out of that race and won the Preakness. Okay, is there a possibility that that race just came back with a little bit of a wonky number because they ran fast, they ran hard? I don't know.
I was
a little
disappointed.
bit outside here.
Listen, I bet
wide turning for home into what's a relatively fast times. I don't know.
But listen, I bet Vlahos last time off the 7 in the Pat Day Mile, and when I saw that he ran a 13, I was like really disappointed and surprised. Listen, the numbers 99 out of 100 times are right, but maybe. But I listen, I have to go by what I see, and he didn't pop yet. He may pop on Saturday, but he didn't pop. And he's not a price. He never goes off long. It's Cox. You're getting Giroux, so good luck. But I'm just saying, I don't know. I didn't see the pop. So at the price, I don't think there's any big deal. He could certainly get in. Don't get me wrong. But I didn't see the last race just should have been better.
Look, this horse was briefly the Derby favorite last year.
Yeah.
And he certainly had a little bit of an interesting career since then. He looked so good winning the Hot Spring Stakes 2 back. The Pat Day Mile I thought was okay. It's just like you said, John. You're waiting for the but, and he's had his chances, and he's gotten beat more times than he's won. But you do have to give Brad Cox credit. He's cross-entered in this race in the Matt Winn Stakes on Sunday at Churchill Downs. Evaluating both spots, Brad's very good at deciding which one he feels is the better opportunity to win with his horses. And he's always about chasing the win. The SF people are about chasing the money. He's about chasing the win. And he feels like this is a better spot than the Matt Winn. So I'll give him credit that he's going to come.
How many are in the Matt Winn race? Do you know? How big is the field?
I think it's an 8-horse field. It's similar,
wow.
Maybe a little bit less.
That's surprising. How many horses can win in this race that he thinks this is his better shot?
Yeah.
Well, listen, he's a great
8,
trainer for a reason. He's a great trainer. He usually makes the right decision. But that being said, we're gambling here.
Yeah, so. I guess that's the other thing. Yeah, he hasn't raced less than a mile since his first race when he ran 6 furlongs. So maybe this is what he needs.
Whatever happened to Booth? Remember when he ran against Booth that day? That was the Matoli that Asmussen had? He disappeared. Anyway, okay,
interesting. Go ahead. Okay. Next up is the 10 Nutella, a 15-1 shot. Another 2-horse race.
Undefeated, Greg. Grade 1 winner, undefeated.
Yeah, grade 1.
He has a win at Saratoga also. Unfortunately, Saturday, I don't think give him much of a chance.
He's only grade 1 winner.
And he ran a 15 in that race.
Yeah. Well, that was a 2-year-old. Only a second start. It was at Saratoga. It was one of the 2 races that Contessa won at Saratoga last meet. He won opening day and closing day, if you recall. Both races.
The filly that won opening day, Becky's Joker, is going to run on Thursday or Friday. Contessa still doesn't know which race. I don't know. They changed the rules that you can't cross-enter, and yet Gary Contessa cross-entered and hasn't made a decision yet. Somehow that's okay. They've been breezing with each other, and you'll get a little bit of a glimpse how Becky's Joker runs in whichever race she runs in on Thursday or Friday, either the Jersey Girl where she has no shot or the Acorn where she has no shot. You'll get an idea of how far she gets beat for if Nutella Fellow has any chance at all. If she gets beat 10 lengths, then I would say that Nutella Fellow probably has no chance. If she happens to hit the board, it could move up Nutella Fellow's chances a little bit. But I think this is a very, very ambitious spot for ambitious connections. And I wish them the best of luck.
All right. Yeah, because if you look at this without the sheets, you're going, wow, grade 1 winner, 2 for 2, looking real good. But, yeah, those sheet numbers are pretty slow. All right, 2 more to go. 11, Maximus Meridius, Rosario on board. Another horse that has actually improved all 4 of his off-track races, 15, 13, 11, and 10. The 10 was the last race, that 6 furlong race. Last month he ran a 10, which is the best number he's ever ridden. So the number is okay. He's 15-1. I mean, the one thing, I like this horse. It's just the outside post with a lot of other good horses. That's the thing that I'm a little bit concerned with, John.
Well, the trainer is terrific. He really does an unbelievable job. He's a Parks trainer. When he ships to New York, they always fire. He never sends a horse out that's not ready to run. Listen, if you're going to get 15-1, I could see making a case for him. The line is fine. He's really never done anything wrong. The 15-2 starts back. He had trouble before the race. I don't know. Again, if he's a price, why not?
Look, if I like reasoned analysis, I have to like Maximus Meritus, who was second to him last time they ran against each other in the Bayshore. This horse came back and ran well. He got beat by Doncho, who on his best day, I wish he was in this race. He would add a little theme to this race as well. This is a nice horse. He always tries 5 for 6 in the money. He's a horse where I think you get a price because people still don't respect Butch Reed as a trainer on these big days, and they should, because he always shows up. Other than at Gulfstream Park, but in New York, in parks, all these places, he always shows up. He's a must-use for me underneath at a big price. I can definitely see this horse hitting the board.
Yeah,
and you said, John, when you have stupid money involved in some of these days, this is where a trifecta pays 3 times what it should. Even if, say, Book of Dano and Prince of Monaco are 1-2, this horse runs third, and you end up with a $150 trifecta.
No question.
And then the final horse is BU, a 15-1 shot, Velazquez-Pletcher combination. So you always got to keep an eye on that. Last out was a dud at the Bluegrass, ran a 15 in that race. But, I mean, it could have looked at as a bounce after the 18 before that. Still, the 9 came from nowhere.
Well, he did run a 10 first out as a 2-year-old. That's at Saratoga, by the way. And then he bounced with trouble. Then he had a couple of routes. If you just look at the sprint races, he's got a 10 first out, and he's got a 9 2 starts back. All the other races are route races. Race 2, race 3, race 4, race 5, and the last race. So if you just want to look at the 10 first out at Saratoga and the 9 2 starts back, his sprint races are okay. If you're looking to make a case for him, you're going to get Pletcher and Velazquez at a huge price. Someone that wants to use him, I could see it. I don't particularly like him, but again, if you want to make a case for him, I see it.
Look, there's a few things here. One, somebody's got to make sure that Steve Rushing's okay, because I've never seen him take off of a Rapoli top Pletcher horse before, especially not for Derek Ryan. So maybe even more kudos to Book of Dano. The fact that Irad ends up there and not on BU, because Irad would it seems like he would rather ride for Rapoli than Secretariat if that was an option. So surprised that he's not on this horse. The second thing is, I agree with John that his best races have come short, and I'm glad that they're cutting him back. But here's the thing. When he won that main special weight race on March 2nd, that was a loaded field that day, and everybody loved their horses. And, I mean, some good horses came out of that race. Obviously, Big City came back, broke his maiden, ran second in the stake on Saturday. Jefferson Street was very impressive. At Keelan, he runs actually an allowance race on Friday. It was a good field. There was a Howard Wallowitz, I think, was in that field, another talented horse. At the end of the day, the barn said that day, if he didn't win that day, they were going to be done with him. He had to win that day. The way he was training really, really well. And if you go back and you see some of his breezes into those races, bullet. He was training really forward. Now you see 49-4. There was a 47-4 2 back, 49-4. It just doesn't look like he's really got the same kind of juju kind of going into it that he had going into that maiden race. And for a horse who's just kind of inconsistent like this horse is, hangs around, but he doesn't have that killer instinct, I'm going to try and beat him.
All right, there you go. That is the Woody Stevens. Now it's picks time. We already know what John and Chad like for their top picks, but let's get the rest. John, you're going with the 1, Book of Dano.
Yes, Exact is with the 7, Prince of Monaco, the 8, Valajos, and the 11, Maximum Meridius. 1 with 7, 8, and 11.
Chad, you've got the 6, Reason Analysis, going with the big 15-1 number. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. We'll be putting money on the 6. What else you got?
I'm going to take the 6 with the 1, Book of Dano, the 4, Valentine Candy, the 8, Vlahos, and the 11, Maximum Meridius.
All right, and now everybody's waiting, of course, for my picks more than anything. So I'm going to go ahead and take Vlahos. You've convinced me. Sounds like a really good horse there. So I'm going to take the 8 over 2, 9, 11. 8 over 2, 9, and 11. So that is the 8th race on Belmont Stakes Day at Saratoga. I can't wait till we have to stop saying that crap.
We got some more comments coming in though.
Yes, we do. Matter of fact, before we move on to the Belmont Stakes, I want to remind everybody to don't forget to subscribe if you're here for the first time and you have not subscribed yet. I don't know what to tell you. That's I don't think that's good. That's not good. What are you waiting for? I believe we have 78 viewers at this moment of time, so hopefully all 78 of you have subscribed already. All right, let's take a look at. We've got a pronunciation for Cilia. Bluegrass Dan. Let's see. Scylla was a supernatural female sea monster with 12 feet and 6 heads, with a triple row of shark-like teeth in each head. Pronounced Sil-A. Scylla.
Scylla.
By the way, do not argue with Bluegrass Dan. He
also knowing that she was a sea monster with 12 feet and 6 heads. I see why they put the blinkers on for the last start.
I know him personally, and I will tell you, he's one of the sharpest people I know. So if he's telling you, you can take it to the bank.
By the way, he also says Greek mythology. Again, I don't know what that means, but you guys do. That's a horse, obviously, right?
No, that's Greek mythology. That's where it came from.
Oh, you see? There you go. That's not. Finally, I thought I knew something. Ed Burke, terrible pizza. That's not good. I think he's referencing O'Neill's pizza place.
Oh, that's not true. I heard
with you. When you're a broke college student or you're a professional horse player, Little Caesar's $5 hot ready pie comes a long, long way. That's dinner and breakfast, okay? Just so you know.
Bluegrass Dan also said at last year's Saratoga meet, 45 races were run at 7 furlongs. 29% were won wire to wire. 69% were won by early pace and early pace pressures.
I'm looking for one of the 31%. Come on.
Ed Burke said Mike Ilitch bought the Red Wings and the Tigers, owning Little Caesar's Pizza. Bluegrass Dan has got a weather update. Currently, 94% chance of rain on Saturday.
90, really?
94, according to Bluegrass Dan.
Oh.
John Giglio. John, is Teddy still alive?
No, I don't know. He disappeared 20-something years ago.
Wait, is he missing? Can we do like a Where's Teddy story?
You absolutely can. There are craziest rumors in the world.
Was Teddy replaced by Shuggy Bear McGahee?
Jeffrey Amster has got a debate with Bluegrass Dan on the weather. Jeffrey Amster says, Dan, I just checked the Weather Channel and watched News 10 Albany, and there is a 20% chance of rain on Friday and about a 35% on Saturday.
Oh, well, that sounds better, but I'm betting on Dan.
And Tommy Dime said...
100% chance of Andy Sterling saying something stupid on the air.
And Tommy Dime said, hit the like button. There you go. So it's not all subscribed. So yes, anybody who's already subscribed, be like Tommy and hit the like button. And don't forget to share it too. Sharing is important.
Can we get to the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga?
we did 50 minutes on the Woody Stevens.
We've waited 150 years. What's another minute?
All right, let's go with the Belmont Stakes. And this. So again, the distance is not the same. So
1.25 miles as opposed to 1.5 miles.
There will be a new stakes record on Saturday.
Yeah. And we've got horses that have won the Derby, the Preakness, the Bluegrass, and the Wood all in this race. The morning line favorites are the 9 and the 10, the 9 being Sierra Leone, the 10 being Mindframe. And look, I don't know, we're going to go through all these horses, but this is Sierra Leone's race. This is payback time, baby. So let's go. I know the viewers always love that. Let's go with the first horse in the field, the Preakness winner, Seize the Gray. An 8-1 shot. So, hey, you know, unlike the horses that win the Kentucky Derby, I guess winning the Preakness, you don't get that much of an impressive rebound there. So he's the same numbers as he was at the Preakness. And Seize the Gray, it was a 9 in that race, John. So the best we've seen from Seize the Gray before that was really the last race, which was a 13. So a 4-point top, shorter than a month. We expect a bounce, don't we?
0 chance. 0. So I don't think this horse has any shot. The last race, you know, he made the lead. imagination came outside him and then backed up. He's not getting that situation on Saturday. Not only that, it's back on 2 weeks. I don't like this horse.
Can he not make the lead again?
Yeah, even if he makes the lead, I still don't like him. I don't like this horse in this. What's Dornock going to do? Sit and watch? Dornock's going. Even Mind Frame is probably going. So, just my opinion. I give him 0 chance.
Look, D1 Lucas has done a good job winning the Preakness. He's won 2 of the last 10 or whatever, with Oxbow being the other one. Oxbow didn't come back and win the Belmont Stakes either. Look, there's going to be 2,750 people rooting for this horse, and 2,750,000,000 rooting against this horse because they don't like those big microfractions partnership groups. So I think, look, it was a great story. I didn't like him in the Preakness. Cards on the table. I thought he ran a great race.
He did.
The kid gave him a fantastic ride, his first ever ride in a Triple Crown race. He rode at Saratoga last year. He knows the way the track is set up. But, man, target on your back is different than coming in as an underdog. Even though he's 8-1, the target's squarely on his back as the Preakness winner. I think jocks ride this race a little bit differently. I don't like Seize the Gray.
Okay, next up is Resilience, a 10-1 shot. The Wood winner, who you could say, he bounced a little bit in the Kentucky Derby. And the Kentucky Derby is a crapshoot. We all know that. It ran an 11 in that race after running the 9 in the Wood. So because of that, and also, John, yes, we know what I'm going to say. This horse has been up and down in all 7 races.
Oh, no.
And that means he should give us at least a 10 or better, because the last 2 times in this situation, he not only improved, but he won both races, including the Wood, running a 9. So what do you think? And we're getting 10-1.
Yeah, he has an alternating line. Bad race, good race, bad race, good race, just like you said. The only knock on the horse is the 14 that he ran was on a wet track. So if the track is sloppy, I probably wouldn't use him. If the track is fast, he certainly makes the cut, in my opinion.
But you know what, though? In the sloppy track, he ran a sneaky good race that day. I didn't think he ran bad. That was a key race with Sierra Leone and that wasn't a bad race. I thought he ran okay.
This is one of the horses I'm using underneath.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Here's my problem with this horse. Belmont came in after the Derby and he said, the horse doesn't go 1.25 miles. And last time I checked, while the Belmont Stakes not 1.5 miles, it's still 1.25 miles. He didn't like him in the Derby. I don't like him in the Belmont. I'm not going to get beat. If the trainer said he doesn't want to go that far, I don't know what's changed in the last 4 weeks. His legs didn't get longer. I'm against Resilience, and I liked him in the Wood. I'm against Resilience.
He was 30-1 though, Chad, and the number is there. I mean, he ran an 11, and he has a 9 2 starts back. So I'm just saying
that was a mile and an 8. I look forward to watching him run in the Haskell.
Okay.
Peter Pan.
Okay. Next up is the Derby winner, Mystic Dan, who came on and really put together a gutsy second-place finish in the Preakness, ran a 10 in that race. So really, look at this last 4 races, 10, 10, 9, 10. You're getting 5-1 on Mystic Dan, John.
Listen, I give trainer Kenny McPeak a lot of credit. He didn't have to run Saturday. He's now going to be the only horse that ran in all 3 Triple Crown races. So that has to count for something. The problem with this horse is the 2 big races that he ran in the Preakness and in the Derby. Now it's bounce time. I don't think he's going to put a 3rd race together in 5 weeks. I think he has to react. He's 5-1. I don't know. He's not going to be the favorite. Obviously, Sierra Leone's going to be the favorite, but he's going to take a lot of money. I think he's sitting on a clunker, personally.
I was impressed with that last race. I thought he was going to bounce off that last effort. Look, Steve Coburn of California Chrome fame would tell you that this is the only horse allowed to compete because you have to run in all 3 races. Look, I don't know what to think. He was never running in this race. It was never really the intention. They were going to run Torpedo Anna in this race. He shipped up to Saratoga, trained good, trained better. Every day, a little bit better, a little bit better. Look, I mean, it's the horsemanship thing to do. I applaud the connections for running in the 3rd leg of the Triple Crown. At some point, though, it's got to come back to you. I think, running against these fresh horses, I'd like to see Brian work out a rail-saving trip If Seize the Gray goes, Resilience drops back. I can see Mystic Dan ending up getting to that rail position, which kind of plays to his benefit. I'm not going to completely give him no chance in this race, but I'm not going to use it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if Mystic Dan were to win this race, even though it's not a mile and a half, but if he were to win the race, you would look at it and go, wait a second, he's first, and second in 3 Triple Crown races? I mean, that's some company.
I'll tell you this. The winner of this race, barring, the Wine Steward winning it, the winner of this race becomes the leader of the division for the 3-year-old Eclipse Award. Because it's wide open right now, right? You have Mystic Dan won the Derby, Seize the Gray won the Preakness, Sierra Leone, many argue, should have won the Derby, should have, would have, could have, should have been disqualified, whatever.
Fierceness won the Fierceness won the Breeders' Cup as a 2-year-old.
Yeah, I think the winner of this race becomes the leader of the division. And I think part of that is Mystic Dan, taking a shot in here. But it's a long year yet ahead. You're going to have to run against older horses at some point. Let's see what happens. But I certainly applaud them for trying to run the Triple Crown.
And it does suck that you don't get anything for it because we've been over that before, and we'll revisit this at some time. Okay, next up is a really, really, really good long shot. The Wine Steward. The Wine Steward, you got to love the fact, John, that you take a look at the sheets. Last 3 races, he's going exactly in the direction you want. The 2 races this year, he's got a 10 and an 8. That's really solid. 6 out of 6 in the money with 3 wins. Never finished past second, and you're getting 15-1. By the way, the Franco on board. The last time he was on board was at Saratoga. The only time the horse has been at Saratoga, and he was the favorite in that race, but he still won. So 15-1. I am all over putting this horse in my exactas along with that 2 horse.
I think he's a lot more likely to react off of the 10 and 8 than he is to repeat or make a forward move. I don't particularly like him, but again, 15-1, I could see. You made a case for him. I could see people making a case for him, but not for me.
I love this horse. I hate this spot. Listen, when there's a difference of opinions between trainer and owner, in this case owners, it never works out. 1 out of a million times doesn't work out. So one owner wants to run in the Belmont Stakes. One owner wants to run in the Woody Stevens or the Mike Lee, which is he's 1-99 in the Mike Lee, but that's neither here nor there on Sunday. And then it comes out that Mike Baker wanted to run in the Ohio Derby. He didn't want any part of New York. So when you're talking about distances between 7 furlongs, a mile and an eighth, and a mile and a quarter on a horse that I don't think really wants to go a mile and a quarter anyway, this is a hard pass for me. I do not think he even hits the board. I love this horse. I don't think he hits the board on Saturday.
Next up is 5, and this is a horse that you hit at the Peter Pan, Chad, and Aquarian.
I loved this horse last time.
And now, even though he's 12-1, we could look at it and say he's expected to bounce. The good thing is he's 12-1.
Yeah, but it's just too much development in a short period of time. Chad was right last time. He was all over this horse. I didn't think he was going to run well, but he ran the 7. Listen, obviously, if he repeats the 7, he's going to be tough. But the chances of him repeating the 7, I think, are slim and none.
There's one race that Todd Pletcher seems to excel at. It's the Belmont Stakes. Well, I mean, I should say
at a mile and a half.
That is true. That is true. Look, Todd's been a fan of this horse for a long time. This was the horse that was going to save Centennial. Centennial had been kind of quiet the last couple of years. Jimmy Jerkins was their private trainer. Jimmy ended up going to Saudi Arabia. They kind of remodeled, sent everything over to Todd Pletcher. This was their one horse from that group after Jimmy Jerkins. And this was the one horse Don Little, the president of Centennial, kept telling me about. This was the horse that was going to save the operation. And being a son of their stallion, Preservationist, he was right. I thought the horse was going to sprint. Preservationist was a big giant horse, but he had a lot of problems. Didn't bring his mate until he was 5. This horse, Todd started at a mile. He always thought that this horse would see out a distance of ground, and the way he won the Peter Pan, it gave you no doubt about it that he wants to go further. I have no problem with this horse. Throw out the Louisiana Derby race where he broke through the gate before the race, which is a big homage. Anytime that happens in a horse race, you throw a line through that one. It never works out. And all of a sudden you see second, first. It's a pretty good line, John.
Yeah, but it's also a 4-point new top without much time. And, for that reason, I would play against him. But again, if you want to make a case for him, Chad, he's a price. Why not?
here's my only thing with and talk to me about this through the sheets here, John. There's a new top and a new top, and what I mean by that is this: if you have a new top and you're all out, right? It's a head bob to the wire, like Stronghold and Imagination Sanity in the Derby. Stronghold had a great number, reacted a little bit in the Derby. In this one, Antiquarian was a no doubt about it winner. While he didn't beat the Wine Steward by a lot, it was never in doubt. And I thought he kind of did it fairly easy. So even though it's a new top, I felt like it was within himself. And if you have that new top without being fully exerted, I feel like you can come back in a relatively short order. This horse shows a couple of breezes since then. I mean, breezed really, really well with Irad on May 24th, and then came back again on June 1st and worked last week. I thought he was the best of the team that he worked with. He worked at the 9:30 and the second break rather than the first break like Mindframe did. I think he's going the right direction, and 12-1 I think is a big overlay.
Here's the problem. Here's my problem. When a horse has 4 lifetime starts, how do you know that the top really was the top? You know, he's lightly raced enough where his next race, what if he runs a 5 tomorrow? You know, it's possible. It's possible.
We're going to talk about a horse that has 2 lifetime starts and it's just a second.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm just saying. So how do we know that was the top? So you may be right. Maybe there's more in the tank. I can't argue with that. I don't know. But just from looking at enough sheets and enough races, to me, it looks like a top. That's all. But I could be wrong. You could be right, Chad. I'm just, that's just the way I feel.
All right. Before we move on, Ed Burke, do you guys think if Torpedo Anna entered, she would have won? I do believe that. Any chance she faces the boys this summer if she stays sound?
I'll take that. I'll say yes to both accounts. From everything that I've heard, she is training like an absolute bear that he said she was going into the Kentucky Oaks. She looks fantastic. She's doing really, really well. The Acorn's going to be a tough race. It's a really, really deep field on the Acorn on Friday, but I think she's the nuts in there, and I think she would make the lead in this race as well. And knowing Kenny McPeak, I got a feeling that we'll see her against the boys in the Haskell.
Or the
he'll say that Rachel did it in the past. He'll keep Mystic Dan and Saratoga for the Jim Dandy. And he'll send her over his favorite track. He'll send her to the Haskell to take on the inconsistent Todd Pletcher horse. It's just a feeling right now. I might be completely wrong, but if I'm right, circle this and we'll re-rally around it. I say that Torpedo Anna runs against the boys in the Haskell later on this summer in New Jersey.
And before we move on from Pletcher's horse, Betsy Hobby Wicker, do you think Todd has a rabbit in here? Because you do have the 10 coming up too, and the 7.
The 10's not. Listen, the 10's not the rabbit.
The 7.
Listen, it's not a rabbit. This is what I call it. I call it a teammate. Okay. It's not a rabbit.
It's a relay race. It's a relay race.
Protective, who we'll talk about in a second, should be in a freaking maiden race. Stop calling him the best maiden in the country. Just run him in a maiden race. This horse was never, ever going to win the Wood. He was never, ever going to win the Peter Pan. And he's never, ever going to win the Belmont Stakes. Okay? I know Mike Rapo's a kid from Queens. I know he likes taking chances. Run the horse in a maiden race. The only thing he's in there is to be a protector for Mindframe and try and keep people out of his way. I think it's like roller derby style, and I don't appreciate this. And I'm very much against this. I don't like protective in this spot at all. But I call it a teammate. I don't.
Oh, they got that going on in F1 too.
The ironic thing is with Tyler Gaffleone riding protective and Sierra Leone in post 9. This listen, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen. Okay, but I very much remember the Belmont Stakes with Mucho Macho Man. When Rajiv Viraj was taken off, and if you watch the start of it, it cost Animal Kingdom not only the Belmont Stakes, but the rest of his season. I think Rajiv was riding against Mucho Macho Man. He was on that Uptown Charlie Brown. I'll never forget it. And he was riding against Mucho Macho Man rather than to try and win the race. I don't know if Tyler Gaffleone's going to have sour grapes about taking off of Sierra Leone, but we know how tough he is to ride. And here's Protective. There's kind of doing whatever Protective is going to do. I don't know.
What is a cage bit, Chad? They put a caged bit on Sierra Leone. What is that?
So it's supposed to give the rider a little bit more control, okay? And I was going to talk about this when we got to the horse. It's a move that you would have thought, because the horse has done this and he's lugged it in so many of his races.
Why didn't he do it before this?
Right. So the article comes out that he's adding this piece of equipment. Fine. Then the article comes out later, and Chad Brown goes, well, we tried this in the wintertime, and he didn't like it.
So why did you try?
So that part kind of got buried. There was like one article that came out in the Race Inform or the Blood Horse, whatever, and nobody's paying attention to it at all. So now he breezed in it last week, and they're hemming and hawing and saying, oh, he worked good, he worked good, he worked good. He always works okay. If Chad Brown was so against using this piece of equipment 6 months ago and 3 months ago, I just feel like he's overreacting to this situation. Maybe the horse does need it, but is it too little too late? I don't know. But to sit there and be like, okay, well, he's got a cage bit now, so all is right in the world. It corrects them, but it doesn't listen, horses aren't cars. You can't just change the brake light or something like that and all of a sudden you're going to go straight. He's still a horse. He still has something going on that's causing him to lug out. Whether it's a physical problem, a mental problem, or whatever the situation is, he's done this 3 times now. He did it in the Remsen. He kind of sort of wanted to do it in Louisiana. He did it in the Bluegrass, and nobody cared because he was in front by so much. And he did it again in the Derby. And look, Flavien Prat is a tremendous rider. But Tyler Gaffleone's not a slouch. And Tyler Gaffleone's breezed this horse, ridden this horse, knows this horse, and he was still doing it. I would have liked more if Flavien Prat went to Saratoga and breezed the horse. And I understand Chris Bond, the exercise rider for Sierra Leone, has been aboard for all of them, and he's doing great, and he's made $1.9 million, and Chad Brown won more Eclipse awards in 1 year than I'll win in my entire life. But I wish that Flavien would have breezed the horse in the cage bit and gotten to know the horse while wearing the equipment than rather having to figure it out on the fly come Saturday afternoon. That's just my personal belief.
All right. Well, first of all, let's get to Dornoch, and unfortunately, Dornoch is just it's gone a complete 180, excuse me, because things were going really well for Dornoch after winning the Fountain of Youth. Looked like this was a horse to beat in the Derby, and then since then a 13 running 4th in the Bluegrass and 18 running 10th in the Derby. John.
Yeah, listen, their biggest problem was they decided to want to give the horse a education and rate him 2 starts back in the Keeneland race, and that was the worst thing they ever did because the last race was not good either. So he technically has excuses for his last 2 races. But that being said, I think he's done. I think he's going in the wrong direction. I don't think he really improved. They had high hopes for this horse, and I don't particularly like him here.
Despite the fact that his brother won the Kentucky Derby last year at 1.25 miles, the way this horse has been training lately, it makes me feel like he wants to cut back in distance. He might be better later on going a mile or a race like 7 furlongs like the Alan Jerkins later on in the summer. I don't fault the connections for running in the Belmont Stakes, but if you've seen his last couple of workouts, he's very, very keen early on. He wants to go, and then they're kind of woeing him back, and it's kind of he's not working the way that you really want to going into this race. I think he's a developing horse. He's a much better looking horse than his brother Mage is. But man,
would you have run him into Woody Stevens if you were training?
I don't know. Like you said, you have the excuses in the last 2, and there's just that part of you that, when you have a nice horse like this you want to be there, and then he deserves another chance at this race because they are viable excuses. These aren't the excuses where it's the trainer, you got beat in a 16-2 life, you're on page 4. I didn't like the slob, the blinkers. No, he had real excuses in those 2 races. I'll give him one more chance here. Big price if you want to use him. You could use him on some vertical tickets and stuff like that, but it's tough to trust him to make him a top pick. But you're rewarded if you use him and he wins, and he's not impossible to win. You're going to get big balloon payouts in some of these multi-race wagers.
Cesar Alvarez says, "What's up, fellas?" I guess he's checking in. Ed Burke, hope you're right, Chad.
Me too.
JW, they hardly use rabbits anymore, unfortunately.
I think Chad Brown's the one guy that still loves to use rabbits.
Artnell Johnson. Saturday is going to be a rainy track. Oh, here we go with the weather again. Good horse, like the gray horse, Sierra the Gray, going to lead the way to the winning post. So Artnell Johnson going with, I guess it's going to be the favorite, which we'll talk about in just a minute here.
Is this not amazing, by the way? Seize the Gray and Dornoch, the first time they met each other at Saratoga, were 1-2 on a sloppy track back on July 29th. Now everything comes full circle. Seize the Gray and Dornoch could be 1-2 again.
All right.
Probably not.
Let's talk about.
I'll tell you what. I think there's a good chance that Seize the Gray and Dornoch finish next to each other, one place or the other. I don't know where they're going to finish, but I do think they can finish next to each other.
Let's talk.
And who was the favorite that day?
Well, Dornoch was 5-2.
And
Seize the Gray was definitely not the favorite. Seize the Gray was 9-2. Drum roll, please, was 6-1. I think. I don't remember who the favorite was.
oh,
It's a
okay.
good race.
Which race?
The maiden race.
Oh, the maiden race. Okay.
If Joe Hardoon is still listening, he probably remembers who the favorite was that day.
All right.
That's a Joe Hardoon answer right there.
Okay. Let's see. Protective's next. The 20-1 shot. This is the Pletcher horse. Gaffalione on board for the first time. As far as the sheet numbers are concerned, this year 23,
Just
12.
the maiden. You spoke about this horse. This was the.
I didn't say anything about the numbers though. 23, 12, 10. So those are the sheet numbers on Protective.
Those numbers would be so good in a maiden race.
Yeah.
He'd be the nuts in the maiden race. A 10. A
Those
maiden
horses
race?
never
Wow.
win. When they finally put them in a maiden race, they never win. Out 2-5 ever. Believe me, they ruin them. They ruin them. They really do.
Here's one of John's picks for the Derby. Was it Anna Marie?
Yeah.
12-1 shot. Didn't work out in the Derby, but overall.
By the way, go back and watch the replay. How good this horse really was. He was totally eliminated at the start, and not because I liked him that day. He really ran sneaky good. Watch the stretch run. Ben Curtis is now off.
Ben Curtis got hurt. He was eliminated
Yes,
at the start of a morning
understand. I'm
workout
not
at Delaware
blaming
Park.
you.
Broke
Okay.
his collarbone.
Okay. I mean, he certainly has a shot.
Well, why does he get a 15 then? If he had a big
15 with
excuse?
the big T. Do you see the big T for trouble?
I'm not looking at the sheets.
Oh, well, that would help if you did.
I write down the numbers so I don't have to look
Yeah,
while I'm
okay,
doing the
well,
show.
we'll
I got
write
enough
the
stuff to
comments.
do while I'm doing the show.
Write the comments down with
Driving
it.
the bus, John.
Yeah,
He's
I'll write the
driving bus.
comments around with it. Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah, do you agree that this horse had a ton of
Oh,
trouble?
absolutely.
Just give me that.
Well, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. That's why I look at the 15. I'm like, wow, I thought he should have got a better break than that. So,
Not only
'Cause he
did
did
he have a
finish
ton of
8th.
trouble, the vets wanted to scratch him all week. His trainer ended up in the hospital. Couldn't feel his legs for 4 days.
Right, he couldn't
Everything
walk.
went wrong. Everything went wrong that week.
all right. And we've got the favorite, Sierra Leone. Is it finally going to work for Sierra Leone here after that bad break of getting the 2-post position in the Derby and still nearly won the
It
big
wasn't a
race?
two-post. It wasn't a 2-post. It was a roller derby down the stretch is what cost him the race. He was bouncing off of Forever Young. He should have been disqualified that day. I hate to tell you, but his sheet line is as good as it gets. He's never gone backwards.
Is there a T? Is there a T in his sheet line?
No. Could you believe it?
There should be a DT, deliberate trouble.
It
right.
wasn't deliberate. He didn't have his cage bit on that day, so he couldn't keep him straight. But
Yes,
now he has his cage bit on. So
Yeah,
whatever.
actually, let's see. JW wanted to know, will the new mouth guard help Sierra Leone, Chad?
Is the mouth guard Andy Sterling? He's outside of his box every freaking day. Look, I don't know. It's intent. The intention is good. If Chad Brown said he tried it over the wintertime and he didn't like it, it gives me concern that this is a reactive move rather than a proactive move. And in that situation, when you're 9-5, if the trainer's not super excited, and look, I'm the number one guy at fault about this. I get maybe too excited when I like a horse. But if the trainer's not over the top excited about the equipment change, it gives me pause for concern. And he's a really talented horse, and he's a really nice horse. But if I'm going to take you at 9-5, and you might end up going off a little bit less because people really like this horse, I'm not all in on the equipment change being the answer in this situation. And from post 9, guess what he's going to do? He's going to be hung out wide, and he's going to end up. You're just waiting for the drift. Now, what's going to happen with the stewards in New York? That might be the even better story than that. You almost want to see if there's some kind of a bumping and see what the stewards in New York do out of curiosity.
Well, after what he had to do in the Derby, I'm not so sure the 9 position in this race is going to be like a walk in the park, considering what he had to go through in the Derby. But we'll see. It's not a prime position, but it's been a lot worse. All right. So, what do you think he's going to go off at?
He'll be 6-5.
I can see that.
And JW, you guys have
Especially,
almost.
by the way, if it rains too, because his race in the Rhythm Star was awesome.
Yep, he's got.
It wasn't that bad. Not on the numbers. It was right in line. He has 2 wet track races.
They changed the racing form number. They gave it like 20 points higher 2 months later.
Well, okay.
JW, you guys have almost double the amount of people watching than the HHH podcast right now.
I don't know what the HHH podcast is, but
I guess it's a live show. All right, let's move on. Mind Frame is going to wrap it up. 7-2. This is the second choice morning line. Pletcher, Irad Ortiz Jr. 7 to begin Mind Frame's career. Very impressive. But unlike another horse, which I guess was the last race, right? This horse did not double. I think the other horse was a 14, I believe. This one went from a 7 to a 9. And that could have been considered a bounce, and yet still won by 7 lengths. And that was also an off track at a mile and 16th. So, 10 position, not ideal, John, but Mind Frame really hasn't done much wrong.
No, I mean, but do you want to bet a horse like this? It's the second choice.
No, I do not. Not when I can bet Sierra Leone. No.
Supposedly, he's been working with Fierceness and keeping good company, and he's training well, or better than Fierceness.
Fierceness has never lost a workout in his entire career until he ran into Mind Frame on May 24th, and now everyone's saying that Fierceness is going to retire. I mean, you want to talk about what a workout does to a horse. He went from being the Belmont Stakes favorite or co-favorite to people saying he's going to be retired because Mind Frame kicked his ass. So let's just take it for what it's worth. Maybe Mind Frame just is a better horse right now than Fierceness. He's feeling his oats. He look.
Listen, let me ask you a question, Chad. If Rapoli didn't have Mind Frame, he would have run Fierceness. That's what I honestly believe in my heart.
I agree.
He's not running Fierceness because he's afraid of this horse. I really believe that. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think that Todd necessarily wanted to run Mind Frame. I think Todd was talked into running Mind Frame, and because he's training so well and outworked Fierceness. Look, it's a big ask. It's your 3rd career start. You've never run in a stake race, okay? It's just there's so many things that go into this. It's a Triple Crown race. There's jostling going around, but at the end of the day, talent is talent. And this is what I'll say. When we talk about the Derby show, and it ended up coming a little bit to fruition with Sierra Leone and all the bumping, nothing against Mystic Dan. And he had the best trip that day. But the best horse doesn't always win the Derby. The Belmont Stakes, there's obviously the Terra, Pants on Fire, a couple other horses, whatever. But the best horse can win the Belmont Stakes. A more compact field, it's a 10-horse field. It's more time for you to kind of analyze and figure out what you want to do. Irad Ortiz wants to win the Belmont Stakes for the kid from Queens. Listen, everyone's talking about Mike Rapoli. How about the fact that Vinny Viola with St. Elias Stables, he's got the Florida Panthers back in the Stanley Cup, baby. Nobody's hotter than Vinny Viola. Don't worry about Mike Rapoli. How about the kid from West Point, Vinny Viola with Mind Frame?
Yeah, I'm sure Ranger fans are real happy when it's like the Cleveland Indian fans when they lost the World Series to the Marlins. It's like, man, we've been waiting 100 years for a World Series, and this crappy organization has been around for 10 years with a crappy fan base wins the World Series. At least the Panthers. Actually, you know what? The Panthers have a better fan base than the Marlins do. So I give them that. All right.
They still throw the rats on the ice when they get a hat trick?
They used to. Yeah, I don't know if they do that anymore.
All right, time for selections. Chad, you're up first here.
I'm going to take the 10 mind frame. Lightly raced, but I think it's a Todd Pletcher exacta. I'm going to go with the 10 mind frame over the 5 antiquarian. 10-5 for me. I'm not even going to get cute with a bunch of other horses. I just like those two horses playing both ways. 10-5.
All right. Oh, me? Okay. I'm going to go, like I said, I'm taking Sierra Leone, no doubt about it. So I'm going to try to make some money. So I'll go 9 over 248.
And I'm going 9 over 2, 8, 10. 9 over 2, 8, 10. You had 9 over 2, 4?
8.
Yeah,
2, 4, 8. Okay. All right, so
9 over 2, 8, 10. I just think Sierra Leone has seasoning. You know, I'm sure the bottom horse may be better than Sierra Leone. I don't know, but he has 2 starts. The other horse, I think, has a seasoning advantage.
And again, so before we go, do you again on Friday? There are 3 Grade 1s at Saratoga and a Grade 2, and of course the other races that we did not have time to talk about. You've got the Met, you've got the Jaipur, Ogden
Yes.
Phipps, Resorts World Casino Manhattan, and so those are other Grade 1s, and then there's others. There's Grade 2s.
What are you advertising for Naira? They don't need you to advertise for them. They're doing.
So out of all those races, is there any other
I
race
look
that?
at any of the races. I'm waiting for weather as we get closer. Why should I have to handicap twice?
Chad, anything?
No, I think it's. I'm looking forward to seeing Torpedo Anna on Friday running against the Black Eyed Susan winner. Not a lot of times you see the Kentucky Oaks winner and Black Eyed Susan winner hook up, and
Where's
just
that?
FYI is going to be back in there as well. Gunsong, the horse we gave out in the Black Eyed Susan. Look, I think that'll be a great race on Friday. The Acorn.
Okay, the Acorn. Okay, and Torpedo Anna's going to be a huge favorite.
I don't think she's a huge favorite. I think she'll be
a favorite, but not a huge.
I think. Look, just FYI is a nice horse for a second of the Kentucky Oaks. Gunsong's in there.
FYI.
There's a couple other nice horses in there. It's a good race.
By the way, I like this live show thing. We should do it for the Travers.
Well, absolutely. That's coming up when?
You got plenty of time.
Is that by football season?
No, that's in the middle of Saratoga, towards the end.
It's college football season.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining. Hit subscribe. Nice seeing everybody.
Subscribe, like, share, and then we'll be back again next week. Next week, we'll go. Oh, that's right. Don't forget, next week we're back to our regular day recording.
Ohio Derby. We got Ohio Derby next week. Let's go. No wine steward in there. No wine steward in there.
Ohio Derby's next week?
The Ohio Derby's next week.
What's next week? What's the day?
The day after Friday.
That's the 15th?
Is it the 15th already? Yeah, I guess so.
I don't. Where is the Ohio Derby? I'm looking at it. It's June 15th. I'm not seeing Ohio Derby. What's that?
It might be in California this year.
I heard it was
Ohio Derby.
I heard it was in St. Louis. Hello.
Maybe it is. All right, anyway, we'll be back next week, and we got more shows. I mean, more races to handicap, no matter what they are. So, all right, I'm going to now hit end broadcast and stop streaming and stop recording, and so we'll talk to everybody.